Hello friends, good morning once again. Let's start with the second video of water, that is the chemical properties of water. So dear friends, the first property, pure water is neutral. It does not have any effect on the litmus paper, nor the red litmus paper, nor the blue litmus paper. It is neutral. Second property, when you heat water above 2000 degrees Celsius, at that time it produces hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. Or when you carry out the electrolysis of water, when you carry out the electrolysis of water. Now what was this electrolysis of water? Last chapter we have seen electrolysis of water, the splitting of water by passing electricity through it. It produces hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. So when you heat water above 2000 degrees Celsius, it's going to prepare or it's going to produce the hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. Or either by the electrolysis of water, we can get the hydrogen gas and the oxygen gas. Very nice. Now, dear friends, let us start with the reaction of water with non-metals. The first thing is reaction with carbon. So, water, when you heat it and when you continue heating this water, you form the superheated steam. When this superheated steam is allowed to react with white coke, that is the carbon, white hot coke, it will produce a mixture of CO and H2 called as the water gas. CO and H2 called as the water gas. And do you remember, dear friends, where this mixture was used? That is a mixture of water gas was used? Yes, very nice. It was used for the generation of this hydrogen in the Bosch process, in the Bosch process. And what is Haber-Bosch process? Yes, Haber-Bosch process. The process used for the generation of ammonia is Haber-Bosch process. And Bosch process was used for the generation of only hydrogen, the three-step process. So this mixture of CO and H2 is your water gas. And from this, CO is converted into CO2, absorbed in water, and you get the pure hydrogen gas, which you repurify again and again, and you get the pure hydrogen gas. Next one is the reaction with chlorine. We are looking after the reactions with non-metal, reactions with chlorine. This reaction is called as the chlorination, where drops of chlorine are added to water. Drops of chlorine are added to water, called as the chlorination, and this method is also called as the disinfection. You carry out the disinfection by using this method of chlorination. So chlorine in presence of water, that is chlorine and water in presence of diffused sunlight, the first step will form HCl and HClO and HClO, that is hypochlorous acid. Now this hypochlorous acid again undergoes decomposition to produce HCl and O2. I said decomposition, the types of reaction. Do you remember? Combination reaction, decomposition reaction. So hypochlorous acid HClO undergoes decomposition to produce HCl and O2. HCl and O2. So the net reaction is Cl2 plus H2O forms HCl and O2. So now dear friends, what happens is this reaction is called as the chlorination reaction, and chlorine is added to drinking water. Chlorine is added to drinking water as an disinfectant to kill the microorganisms, to kill the germs. So these were the reactions of water with non-metal, water with non-metal. Now reactions of water with non-metallic oxides with non-metallic oxides. The first one, what are oxides firstly? Yes, metal or a non-metal with oxygen are called as the oxides, So water plus carbon dioxide. When the rainwater comes down, the carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere combines with it and forms the carbonic acid, H2CO3. The first reaction, water with carbonic acid in the liquid state and carbon dioxide is in the gaseous state. Second reaction with SO2. So SO2 gas plus water forms H2SO3, that is sulfurous acid firstly. And this sulfurous acid, what's the formula for sulfurous acid? H2SO3. When it reacts with oxygen, it forms H2SO4, that is our sulfuric acid, Now, the reaction of water with metals, Now, the reactions of water with metals, reaction of water with metals. And The reaction of water with metal depends on the position of metal in the reactivity series. Position of metal in the reactivity series. So firstly, what is reactivity series of metals? So reactivity series, can you see this series of metals? These series of metals, the metals are arranged in the decreasing order of their reactivity. The higher metals in the series are highly reactive, like potassium, sodium, calcium, highly reactive. And as we go down, the reactivity goes on decreasing in this series. And such a series of metals in which the metals are arranged in the decreasing order of their reactivity is called as the reactivity series. Is called as the reactivity series of metals. And how these metals react with water? Depending on their position in the reactivity series. The metals which are highly reactive, they are placed at the top of the reactivity series. The metals which are at the bottom, they are not at all active. But the metals which are in between, they are less reactive. Highly reactive, little less reactive, and least reactive. So, by using this reactivity series, we are going to see the reaction of water with different metals. So, the first one, metals above magnesium react with water also, with cold water above magnesium. So, potassium, sodium, and calcium, they react with cold water also. But when they react with cold water, the reaction is still very vigorous, very fast reaction. And here, a large amount of heat energy is given out, and because of this, the metals also catch fire over it. And in this reaction, metal hydroxides are formed and hydrogen gas is given out. Metal hydroxide. What are hydroxides? Compounds which contain OH. Compound which contain OH group are called as the hydroxides. So potassium reacts with water at room temperature also to form potassium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Calcium also reacts to form CaOH twice. Why CaOH twice? OH twice. Why? Because the valency of calcium is 2. It requires 2 OH groups. Sodium, it forms NaOH plus H2. But the other metals do not react with cold water very easily. No, they do not react with cold water. But keep in mind, the metals which are placed above magnesium in the reactivity series, potassium, sodium, calcium, they react, and they also react very vigorously, catching fire. Exothermic reaction, large amount of heat energy is given out, and they form the corresponding hydroxides, and hydrogen gas is liberated. Very good. Then, as the other metals, they do not react with cold water, magnesium reacts with hot water. Magnesium reacts with hot water. So let us see this reaction. Magnesium plus water forms magnesium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas is given out. And what happens in this reaction? This reaction, MgOH twice, along with this reaction, light is also given out. Intense light is also given out in this reaction. Now, we have seen the reaction with cold water, hot water. Now reaction with steam. Reaction with steam. Magnesium and steam. They forms magnesium oxide and hydrogen. Zinc and water forms ZnO and H2. See here, magnesium reacts with steam to form MgO and water. Here intense light is given out. In this reaction actually intense light is given out. Not over here. Not over here. But in this reaction Mg plus H2O to forms magnesium oxide and hydrogen, intense light is given out in this reaction. Then zinc plus water forms zinc oxide, iron plus water forms iron oxide, and see here dear friends, see the difference. It forms hydroxide. Active metals, they form hydroxide with cold water also. Magnesium with hot water also forms hydroxide, but with steam, the other metals above magnesium, along with magnesium, when they react with steam, they do not react with cold water, they do not react with hot water, but this zinc, iron, aluminium, they react with steam. And what happens with aluminium? What happens with aluminium is, let us see. This is suppose aluminium. This is suppose, I said suppose, aluminium. So when this aluminium reacts with steam, it forms a layer of aluminium oxide on its surface, Al2O3. Can you see the reaction? Aluminium plus water forms Al2O3, aluminium oxide. And this aluminium oxide forms a layer on the surface. So what happens? This aluminium metal now further does not comes in contact with the steam or atmospheric oxygen. And so will it undergo further reaction? No. It is not exposed further because this aluminum oxide layer is completely adhered to the surface. It has formed a firm coating. It does not allow the metal surface to get again exposed to the atmosphere or to the steam, and therefore further reaction or further corrosion of aluminum does not takes place. Is it clear, dear friends? Okay, nice. Yeah, keep these reactions in mind. Now, dear friends, the metals like lead, copper, iron. Yes, I was telling you about the metals like lead, copper, mercury, nickel, silver, gold. They do not react with water in any form. They do not react with water in any form. Maybe cold water, hot water, or steam, they do not react with water. Now, the reaction of water with metallic oxides. Metallic oxides. And now, when water reacts with metallic oxide, they form the corresponding hydroxides. They form the corresponding hydroxides. And these oxides of potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, zinc, iron, etc. These oxides, when they react with water, they form hydroxides called as the bases. Can you see this hydroxide? Potassium hydroxide, calcium oxide, hydroxide, zinc hydroxide. These are called as the bases. These are called as the bases. And bases are the substances. Here, bases are the substances which react with acid to form salt and water. Which react with acids to form salts and water. And the bases which are soluble in water, the bases which are soluble in water, they are called as the alkalis. They are called as the alkalis. And this potassium hydroxide, sodium hydroxides, these are easily soluble in water. These are easily soluble in water, and therefore they are called as the strong alkalis. They are called as the strong alkalis. Whereas your calcium hydroxide and magnesium hydroxides, they are weak alkalis. They are weak alkalis. They are means weak alkalis means they are very little quantity soluble in water, very less soluble in water. So they are called as weak alkalis. Whereas your zinc hydroxide and iron hydroxides, these are the bases and not the alkalis. They are not at all soluble in water. They are not at all soluble in water, and therefore they are the bases and not the alkalis. Now, water as an universal solvent. Now, in water, many substances dissolve very easily. Many substances dissolve very easily. So, water is called as a universal solvent. Example, let us see sugar or salt, solid material, dissolves very easily. Solid material dissolves very easily to form the sugar solution, to form the sugar solution. So, this water, many types of substances, solid, or you can say liquids can also dissolve, or your gases can also dissolve, and it's called as the universal solvent. So firstly, let us try to understand what is a solvent. A solvent is a chemical substance, usually a liquid, in which a substance dissolves, usually a liquid. So when I take sugar and water, water is a solvent. Water is a solvent. And this sugar is called as a solute. Sugar is called as a solute. So solute is a substance that dissolves in a solvent, that dissolves in a solvent to form the solution. To form the solution. So sugar is a solute, water is a solvent. And the combination of together, sugar and water is called as a sugar solution. So what is sugar solution? A solution is a uniform mixture of solute and solvent. Of solute and solvent. Very nice. And as in water, large number of substances can easily get dissolved. Water is called as a universal solvent. As we have not now only seen, sugar, the different salts, they are easily soluble. So solids are soluble. Liquid, different solvents, they are easily soluble in water. The alcohols, the acids, easily soluble in water. They are all in liquid states. Gases, when rainwater comes down, CO2, SO2, NO3, NO2, they all dissolve in water. So gases are also soluble in water, and hence water is called as a universal solvent. And as water acts as a universal solvent, many substances dissolve in it, isn't it? So it is called as a universal solvent. So this property has some applications. So this property has an applications. So what are the applications? So what happens when we eat food? The food contains different nutrients. It contains proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, etc. So when we drink water, these carbohydrate, fats, vitamins, proteins, nutrients, minerals, they get dissolved in water. Okay. And what happens as this water circulates to each and every part of water body, they are circulated and transported to each and every part of the body, and over there they are absorbed by those organs or by those cells. So that means through this water, all these nutrients are supplied to the various parts of our body. Then the waste material from our body, the waste material from our body, it gets dissolved in water. It gets dissolved in water and easily removed through our kidneys. Next one, aquatic plants and animals. Oxygen gets dissolved in this water, and these aquatic plants and animals take this oxygen for their respiration, and also the carbon dioxide that is dissolved in this water is utilized by these plants for photosynthesis purpose. For photosynthesis purpose. Now, the types of solution: unsaturated, saturated, and supersaturated. Unsaturated, in which more solute can be dissolved, is unsaturated at the given temperature. Saturated, in which no more solute can be dissolved at a given temperature, is called as saturated solution. Supersaturated, which contains more solute that can be dissolved than the quantity. Which contains more solute that can be dissolved than the quantity or than the desired quantity at a given temperature is called as supersaturated solution. We have seen all these three concepts in the last. Now, factors that affect the formation of solution. The first one, stirring. When we stir fastly, more solvent will come in contact with the solute. More solvent will come in contact with the solute, and therefore, as you increase the rate of stirring, the rate of formation of solution will be also faster or increased. Increase in temperature. As you rise the temperature, heating increases the rate of formation of solution. Why? When you heat the solvent, the molecules of solvent moves away. The molecules of solvent, they get the energy, and what happens is they little bit move away. They break up from their intermolecular force of attraction, and so what happens is the solute particles can easily get adjusted in the available spaces. That means they get soluble over there. So as the temperature increases, the formation of solution also becomes faster and faster. The size of solute. If the particle size is very, very small, then the rate of formation of solution is faster. But if the particle size is bigger, the rate of formation of solution will be a slower process. So what happens when the particle size is very, very small? The surface area increases. More surfaces come in contact with the solvent. And as the surface area increases, the rate of formation of solution also increases very fastly. So dear friends, this was for all today's lecture. Hope that you all have understood. If there are some difficulties, dear friends, kindly note down in your notebook. Why? Because many times you forget the concepts, or many times you forget to ask. So you may note down in your chemistry notebook itself. So when we have a doubt clearing session, at that time we can solve it. But very important, one more very important thing to note. Dear friends, have you have watched both the videos? Now it's the time for you. Kindly take a pencil in your hand, textbook, and kindly underline all the important things, or the soft copy of the textbook I have sent you. Kindly read it very properly. Try to understand it, because reading is going to give you more and more and more knowledge. So kindly read it once again with a pencil in your hand, so that the concepts will be clear. After this, you also have to solve the assignment and also have to give the Google test. Now this Google test is of 10 marks. Out of these, 7 marks are for your MCQs. 3 marks will be subjective. I'll check it, and these 10 marks will be also included in your final exams. Total 40 marks I'm going to include in your final exams. 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. Till now we have taken 2 tests. Today's test will be the third test. So I have to complete total 4 tests of 10 marks. So this was for today, dear friends. I wish you all the best for your chemistry studies. See that you study properly, save the notes properly. You have to share the notes with your friends if you're not having. Okay, you can ask each other for the notes. You can share it with each other so that you have all the notes properly, and save the notes properly, dear friends. I request you all save them properly on the same day when we are sending the notes. Okay, so this was all. Hope that you are safe at home. Study properly. I wish you all the best. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Yeah, surely we'll meet up in the next week again. Bye bye.